Do. All right. That is very exciting. We are now live on Facebook and getting to go live here in just a moment on Instagram so that I can enjoy talking with the amazing Suzanne Selfors. Oh my gosh. I do hope many of you have been able to make it here today and meet this fabulous woman because she is multi-talented. And she was just telling me a minute ago, I don't want to have to talk about myself for a long time, but she's got a lot to say and has done a lot of interesting things since I've known her. So as you're coming in, guys, for those of you who are regulars, you know the drill. Somebody say you've arrived and where you've come in from. So I know this is working. According to my computer, we are. So I'm just waiting for a first body to show up and say, hey, all right, there are my bodies. There are my loyals. Susie's here. Hi, Susie Baldwin. I know Suzanne is a regular customer at the bookstore. She's supports so many of us. And Pam has made it. Hi. And Corrine from Ontario. So I'm glad to see a lot of my regulars have made it today. Hi, Nancy. So glad you guys can be joining us. And I love when you say where you're coming in. I don't know if Suzanne can see these comments or not, but it's really fun to see people coming in from all over the country. And I appreciate you taking the time because I know now we have hit busy season, you guys. And I'm sure everybody, you can feel free to post if you're done with your Christmas shopping yet. I almost am. I'm a good little bunny. I got stuff out there and I'm almost ready to go and I'm trying to get my baking done. But oh, golly, it's been an effort. Anyway, we're going to be talking again, like I said, to Suzanne Selfors, and I'm going to jump right into it. Hi, Carolyn. I'm glad you could make it. Guys, if you would like to post questions as we go, please feel free to. I will try and monitor that and make sure that I keep track of them. But meanwhile, Suzanne and I are going to yak. Sorry, guys, I'm just getting over a cold, as some of you know, and so I'm kind of yarky, but that's okay. Karina's not done shopping yet. Okay, good, because you shouldn't be. Theoretically, you shouldn't be. You got time. Anyway, so I've known Suzanne for several years. She's still a sweet young thing, but she was practically a baby when I first met her. And Suzanne, I do believe that Susan Wiggs was a mentor to you before I even knew her. How did you happen to meet Wiggs?
So Susan was in an exercise class on Bainbridge Island with my mom. Huh. And my mom, being my mother, went up to Susan and said, my daughter's writing a book and would you spend some time? Would you talk to her? And so Susan, being who she is, very politely said, well, yes. And, now I know how many times that, happens to people. And so I'm a little embarrassed that my mom did that. But anyway, I went to lunch with Susan and I had a novel written and I had an agent at that point in time, but I didn't know what to do next. And she always tells this story, and she said she could tell that I was serious about what I was doing. And she invited me to join your critique group. And so she brought me in. I was the only unpublished author in the group. And I remember I was really nervous because you had a career at the time, and there were two or three other women in a variety of genres. And then there was little old me. So I would say that you were also one of my first mentors, Sheila, because without that writing group, I don't think I would have gotten to, I wouldn't have gotten as far as I have. So I was really grateful to be in that group.
Isn't that interesting how we make connect? I think it's great that your mom advocated on your behalf. I love to listen to the Ramsey Network where they talk about finances and stuff. And one of the celebrities there wrote a book for people job hunting called The Proximity Principle. And his theory in that is you need to get to know people in the industry. You need to get to know somebody who can guide you and help you. And so actually, you did it just right. Sometimes people are afraid to even ask somebody to help them. And, the Bible verse that says you have not because you ask not. And so I think it never hurts to ask. And I think your mom was a great example of that and advocating for you. And good for you for taking advantage of that. And when the door opened, walking through. Because I think, again, sometimes people are afraid to walk through that open door. And you went ahead and walked through it, which is great. And by the way, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I think it's more important now more than ever to remind younger people because, like I look at my children, they're very uncomfortable about doing things in person, right? Like my daughter's
Yeah.
applying for jobs and it's all online and there's
Yeah.
no human interaction. It's not like when we would walk into an office and hand the receptionist
Yeah.
our resume, right? So it's very different. And so they've lost a lot of that. And so I always remind them it really comes down to time and time again, who do you know? And there's nothing wrong with asking somebody, well, what does your roommate do for a living? And making those connections. And especially in the publishing industry, because we've been in it long enough, Sheila, to know that it's a small world. And your editor who's quit or been fired or your agent ends up working somewhere else. And so all those connections can, help or hinder your career as you go along.
That is just so true. Quickly, I want to say hi to people who have just joined us. Hi to my Instagram gang. We've got somebody in there from Massachusetts. Thank you. Patricia Warren has come in from New Hampshire. I see Christy Sterling's made it from Idaho. Diana's here from New Jersey. Thank you, everybody. We're enjoying talking with Suzanne and how she got her start and was brave enough to follow up on what her mom started and join a critique group of authors. And that's really important to be able to have other input and help and people guiding you. And so, anybody out there, if you're trying to get into a certain career or a job, don't be afraid to make those connections. I think that's a really good lesson. So you started out that way and you have done a lot of stuff. You didn't start out, well, I'm trying to remember your first book. I know my favorite first book, but I don't think it was your first book. What was your very first book you wrote?
So this was in 2003, Sheila, when I joined your writing group.
Wow.
And I was writing for adults. I had written a retelling of a Greek myth. And at that point in time, nobody was publishing Greek retellings. Nobody. And so even though my book got me an agent right away, and even though it was read by every publishing house out there, nobody knew what to do with it. All of my rejection letters, they're like, what do we do with 1200 BC? They don't know they didn't know what to make of this novel. They didn't know how to market it. So everybody rejected it. And I wrote 2 or 3 novels that were set in ancient Greece. And so I mean, now I can look and say, well, my timing was just off.
Yeah.
Which is so true about this industry. I mean, you can write amazing things, but there's a lot of luck and timing, and you can't predict what all of a sudden you can't. If you see a trend going on, you're too late, right? You can't predict that all of a sudden editors are all going to want these Greek myth books because they've been really hot now for about 6 or 7 years, but they weren't when I was writing. So those were my beginning years with you and your critique group. I was writing those books, and none of them. Well, they got published in Greece, but they didn't get published.
That's really cool.
They didn't get published here.
Have you thought of self-publishing them?
No, I've left them behind. I just kind of feel like they were my first novels. They are what they are. I think if I went back and read them, I would want to change. I'd want to rewrite them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and I'm not sure you'd have time anyway. Yeah. My first book of yours that I remember and loved, and I felt really, I bought a copy. I don't remember which of my grandkids. And I'm so mad at myself actually that I gave it away because it was like a first edition, Suzanne Selfors, and I was always going to get another one, and I didn't. And I actually just today went online to see if you could even get a hard copy anymore, and you can't. But it was the cutest one. It was the To Catch a Mermaid one.
Yeah.
Where the little boy catches this mermaid. She's not a cute Disney mermaid. She's this creepy little, it was the best book ever, this creepy little thing, and she's horrible and she hates him, and she gives his little sister's goldfish ick, which I guess is a real fish disease, right? Ick. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just thought ick went ick, but ick is really bad if you're a fish, right?
Mm-hmm. That was my first published book, and and that one went to auction. That was my first. So I got it rejected by everybody on the adult novels, but as soon as I wrote a children's novel, everybody who read it wanted it, and it went to auction. So that was my introduction to this world. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
It's a brilliant book, and you actually are one of the things, Suzanne, by the way, guys, I see you coming in, you newbies. Zephyr Hills has arrived. Hi, Debbie, and Diane and Debbie from MD, Maryland, right? So thanks, guys, for joining us. You're really good at thinking of kind of high concept book ideas, actually. And, that's a big thing with books, too. The books that really hit, the ones that we like, are often those kind of ones, really unique ideas. And you did a lot of those. And you're still writing children's. What's your favorite? If you have a book, and also I know you wrote one with your son. That was an award-winning one, the one you wrote with your son, right?
Braver. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. That was a great experience, right? I don't know if you've ever written with anyone. Oh, yes, you have. Well, you've done a collection, right, where you each write a short story.
I've written songs with people. I've never written a book. Okay. That's a challenge.
Right. Yeah, it's not easy. Imagine doing it with a family member.
Yeah.
We actually did we worked together really well, and it was a great experience. But I think right now my favorite book that I've written for children is a book called Ratty.
Oh, I remember Ratty.
And I love this book because it's a fairy tale, and I've said it it's basically Port Townsend is where I've said it. And it's just the story of a boy who, about a few moments after he's born, he mysteriously turns into a rat. And so he has to spend the rest of his childhood in hiding with his uncle. His uncle whisks him away. And so when we meet him, he's 12 years old and he's 4 feet tall. And he's tired of living in hiding, and he wants to figure out why he turned into a rat and how can he turn back into a boy. And so that's his quest. And I love that book. I just am really proud of it.
I just think I love that. I think that's just brilliant. And you can still get some of your books like on Amazon and stuff, right? Are you carrying
everything's still in print? There's only a few things. I'm just now starting to go out of print, my old ones. And that's what happens to every writer. It's really, It just is what it is, right? But we're lucky now because now we can get our rights back and very easily upload the book and keep it available forever. So that's my goal in 2026. I'm getting my rights back to my early stuff, and I will be making it available. But Ratty and Braver and all my recent stuff and even some of my older stuff is all still in print because they're used a lot by schools and by states for state reading lists. So that keeps them in print.
That's very cool. By the way, Susie says I bought Braver signed for my grandchildren when they were younger. They're teens now. Oh my gosh, that's too fun though. I appreciate that. It's so important to be buying books for our kids to keep them literate, to keep their imaginations firing so they're doing something besides scrolling on their phones and just playing video games. I don't have a problem with kids playing video games, but I want them to read a little bit too. And so as we're getting into Christmas, guys, keep in mind that we do want to be buying books for our kids and our grandkids and our other relatives. Best gift you can give anybody really is a book. And so I just think that's great. And Suzanne has written some fabulous ones. But now she's gone, as many of you might know, from writer to bookstore owner. How on earth, you had a bit of a bumpy start when you did that, but first tell me, how did you end up becoming a bookstore owner? That is just so interesting.
So Liberty Bay Books has been around. It's a small bookstore in Paulsboro, Washington, and it's been around since 1977. And so the owner prior to me, who was also a Suzanne, I would go in there once a week to sign books because she would handle the book sales for my school visits and my Skype visits. And at that time, I was doing a lot of them. And so I would go in and sign boxes of books that she would ship off to these various schools I was visiting. And so I got to know her, pretty well over the course of a few years. And she started to tell me that she was thinking about retiring and that she thought I would be a good next owner for the store. And so I had never ever had this has never been a fantasy of mine. I've never thought I wanted to own a retail establishment. I mean, never had that. So many people walk into the bookstore and they say, "Oh, I've always dreamed of owning a bookstore." That was never me. So I told Suzanne that I needed to think about it and I needed to do some research. And so I did spend a good 10 months. I just would I did a lot of research and I got to know a lot of owners of other bookstores, and they all sat down with me and just basically told me the truth about the business, shared their numbers with me, just really were very open. And in the end, I went ahead and bought it. And even knowing all of the things that were difficult
Wow.
and all of the things that, and it's hard to keep independent bookstores going. I did make an emotional decision, and in the end, I did decide to buy it. And so I bought it, and did not know that right on the horizon we were going to have a pandemic.
Wow. Ah, great time to be buying a bookstore.
Yeah,
Oh man.
that was pretty bad timing. But I've always said this, and the pandemic actually, in a weird way, for me as a business owner, I learned more from that than I would have without it.
Huh.
Right? It put me into an emergency situation 1 month after I had opened and I had put my own personal money into this business. I suddenly was shut. We had the state lockdown, and suddenly I had to figure out how to survive. And so I couldn't afford an accountant. I couldn't have employees. That was against the law at that time. I couldn't do all these things. So I had to learn every aspect of that business myself. I had to learn everything. And so that was good because I knew where every penny was going. I knew exactly what I was paying the state. I knew I had to learn everything. And so I think I could teach like a university, a business level course on surviving, something
Wow.
like that. But it was actually good for me, and so we survived. Yeah.
Well, and talk about a crash course in business. Sometimes the best way we learn is feeling our way through a situation, and you really were thrown into the deep end of the pool with that. It was a very interesting time for so many people, and I know COVID was hard for a lot of people. Um, uh, for myself as an extrovert, it's like, oh my gosh, no parties. But it turned out to be in some ways good. I found out my friends and I would actually play cards on Zoom. I was able to do, of course, bookstores had gone to Zoom events, which was great because I didn't have to pay for airline tickets and pack up and go, and those were actually kind of fun. So in some ways, and I don't really know the stats on it, but I know at least from my books, I felt like reading boomed because you couldn't go anywhere. And so people were reading more, it seemed to me anyway. We were baking bread, using up every ounce of flour on the planet. Go looking for flour, going, what the heck? Where's the flour? So they were baking bread and they were reading, and so in some ways it was good. In some ways, of course, it was horrible, and so hard to start a business, but you survived and you are thriving now. This is, for those of you who don't know, this is Liberty Bay Books in Paulsbo, and myself, Susan Wiggs, and several other authors. When we say, if you want a signed copy of the book, we usually say, contact Suzanne's store, Liberty Bay Books in Paulsbo, because we'll sign them and she'll ship them. By the way, we had several of you have come in late. Thank you for joining us. And now here's interesting, because Diane Clark says that owning a bookstore has always been a dream of hers. Also playing the piano, neither have I done yet. Well, Diane, the bookstore might not quite be there yet, but hey, you can start doing those piano lessons in the new year. Just get in there and get a little kid's piano book and get started. And I took piano lessons, but I taught myself how to play by ear. So you just get teacher to get you launched, and then you're good to go. And Pam says, where to go? My book club met via Zoom. Yeah, after a few months. Not the same as in person, but still fun. No, that's true. It's always more fun in person, but it shows how creative humans are at adapting and figuring out a way around a problem. We said, okay, we can't get together in person. We're going to Zoom, or we're going to be out our neighborhood here where we are every Friday night during the summer and fall, warm weather. The minute it's warm, it is Friday night happy hour, and somebody's got kind of a little parking area above their house, and everybody brings their fold up chairs, and they all sit outside with their favorite beverage and talk. And that started during COVID. A few of them said, okay, we'll just distance and visit out here in the great outdoors. And that started a whole tradition, which is so cool. By the way, Susie says, love Liberty Bay Books, been shopping there for 20 years. And we appreciate that kind of loyalty. I feel like there is a resurgence both in reading and independent bookstores. Suzanne, is that true, or am I imagining that?
Well, one thing that COVID did was it did help a lot of indie bookstores because people made the conscious decision to support their local businesses at that time. And so there was a lot of support. And that's one of the main reasons we survived, was because people made that effort. I'm not going to buy online. I'm going to support. We were all getting food to go as much as we could, right? We were trying to keep everybody alive at the time. And so, yes. And so that year, especially in the year following, children's book sales were way up. I mean, it was just great news for the children's book industry. But it's not so great news at the moment. Children's book sales are not doing well.
That's not good.
I know, especially middle grade books. And it's, I'm going to blame it on this thing.
I was going to say, what is the cause?
Yeah. And so it's a real struggle right now. There's a real struggle in the industry right now, in the children's industry. So, yeah, but our store's thriving. There are a number of stores are thriving, and one of the reasons Liberty Bay Books does so well is because we have very loyal customers, but also because we're in a tourist town. And Paulsbo is incredibly popular. It's a place where people go to spend the days, like going to, Leavenworth or any place. They go there. They want to go get coffee and have lunch. And there's a bookstore there that they go into. So I'm very well aware that one of the reasons we survive is because we have constant foot traffic. And I think now that is absolutely one of the most important things as a brick and mortar store. You have to have foot traffic. And so I'm well aware that that's one of the reasons we do so well. But also we put on tons of events, and we try to bring in really amazing authors, and also I've really gotten to know my customer well. And I think the store is very much curated in a particular way for that customer. Every store has its own personality, and ours definitely has a personality when you walk in the door. And it's very Pacific Northwest. That's what the theme is. That's who my customer is. They want to know. They want writers from the Pacific Northwest. They want, to know.
Yeah, they want nature books. They want all that kinds of stuff. Oh, Nancy, thank you. Nancy says, I think I ordered from Liberty Bay for a Sheila book. Thank you for doing that. And of course, I want y'all to order from Suzanne when you're doing your Christmas shopping. But if there is a local bookstore in your town, or Barnes & Noble, or an anything store, please get in there and support them, and make sure that you help them stay in business, because we do need books. And these stores, of course, if nobody goes in, then they don't stay in business. So I think it's really important. And oh my gosh, there's so many cute little independent bookstores out there that, there are all kinds around that you can maybe hopefully give some business to it. So as we're chatting, in the comments, who's giving books for Christmas this year? And if so, who are you giving them to? I just feel like everybody, I did a little thing just earlier on Instagram with 4 different types of book suggestions, everything from memoir to, I called it shrink in a book, like a self-help kind of book, and fiction. There are so many different type, money management. There is a book for everyone. And so I think that it makes such a great Christmas present. So I'll be curious to know, go ahead and post if you're giving books for somebody this Christmas. And by the way, I'll do a quick commercial break. So, now guys, have you got this yet? This has gotten really good reviews, doggone it. And it's the most fun cover ever. And if you have not bought this for somebody for Christmas, let me just encourage you to right now. And you can get this anywhere, including at Liberty Bay Books. And also, this was just what I did on myself. So it's only available on Amazon. But this is my little cross between E.T. and Starman. Starman Falls in Love, and my little Out of This World Romance, Starry-Eyed for Christmas. And this is what they call closed door, no spice read. So you can give this to anybody where you don't have to worry about, okay, block out that page because my granddaughter, I don't want her reading that. There's nothing like that in there. So it's kind of a little fun little romp. And so, guys, that will help on your Christmas shopping. And if you want more ideas, of course, that Instagram post has got some suggestions. And I bet Suzanne has got what's hot at the bookstore right now for you, for people buying for Christmas.
Oh, what's hot right now are they're re-releasing lots of fantasy novels and
Ah,
romantasy, and they're doing them with the pretty end pages. So
oh, yes.
and they're re-releasing all sorts of like classics as well, like Jane Austen. They've made these beautiful. We have this whole table right now of these of Jane Austen, these just gorgeous covers, and then the matching end pages. So right now, what they're doing, and I love it, is they're really turning the physical book into a piece of art.
Yes.
And so I think that's amazing. And it adds a few more dollars to the price, but it's not too much more. And so we're seeing a lot of that. And so and they're really fun to display. So that's what's hot right now.
And those are gorgeous. Oh my gosh, they're just so beautiful. And it's fun to see the classics being brought out again so people
Yeah.
can be reintroduced to that. So I love that. So obviously, Suzanne's got it all. If you guys are interested, you need to kind of, she's got a website, right? libertybaybooks.com. Is that a good guess? I just
Yeah.
go in, so I don't pay attention to the website.
That's correct.
Okay, so you guys can go there. Also, I wanted to ask, what this is a bookstore is a lot of work. What is the most challenging thing for you owning a bookstore?
The most challenging thing is keeping up with front list orders. So what that means, and I
Mm.
was doing that just before I came on here, Sheila,
Wow.
is so people don't understand realize that there are over 2,000 books published in our country a week. And that is the traditional houses. That's not all the self-publishing that goes on, which I can't even, no, I don't even know how you even get wade through all that.
Yeah.
That's just Penguin Random House and HarperCollins and Macmillan. Anyway, thousands of books. And so somehow as a buyer, I have to figure out which ones I'm bringing in. And so like right now I'm looking at spring of 2026 and I have the Penguin Random House catalog. It's open on my computer and there are in the just the children's section there's over 900 books. And so it's really hard. It's really hard to figure out what, because I can't bring in that many. And I know that there are 8 other publishing catalogs I have to go through.
Oh my goodness.
So that's really hard. And I'm always behind. My sales reps are always like giving me little gentle nudges. Suzanne, you know, it's time. Suzanne, it's time. And I'm always like one of the last people to get her orders in. And I just know that about myself. So
Well, it's just so much to do. You know,
so much.
I just keep wondering if that statistic is true where it talks about only 1% of the people who start a book finish it. I'm going, is that accurate anymore? I mean, there are books everywhere and self-published books. I'm going, there have got to be more than 1% of us finishing a book now. It's because it seems like everybody in the world is writing a book and has a book out for sale. It's just amazing to me, which, you know, and that's good. We're living in a time where if you have that dream, you can make it happen. If you want to write that book, you can turn it into something and say, here's my book. Where a generation ago, there were gatekeepers and you couldn't do that. You know, and if you did self-publish, it was called vanity publishing, and it was not a thing. It was not a badge of honor. It was like, oh, you know, oh, you wrote this silly thing and you've got boxes of it in your garage kind of thing. And that's not the case anymore. So it's a different animal, but it is definitely a competitive market these days, guys. And so when you see authors out there going, buy my book, buy my book. Well, you know why? Because we're all, how many of you, I know Suzanne's not old enough. How many of you, and I was a mere child, are old enough though to remember the old Charlie Tuna commercials? Remember they had the fish, Charlie the tuna. He wanted to be, I think it was a star-kissed tuna fish. And so he was always doing all these crazy things, hoping they'd catch him. He's wearing sunglasses, you name it. He was doing it, trying to get caught. Here's the fisherman up here. And I always tell people, and these days authors were all, here's the reader up here at the top of the pond in the little boat fishing for a book. And all of us are down below like Charlie Tuna going, pick me, pick me. Look at my cute sunglasses. Look at my great book. Look at the dragons I wrote about. Pick me. And so it's definitely a writer's market now. I mean, a reader's market right now. Readers have a wonderful pick of books. Anything you want to read, it's out there. And so that is a good thing for readers. It's definitely making writers, maybe making us a little more pesky. Right, buy my book, buy my book. But that's kind of why, because it's definitely a busy market. And of course, at Christmas. So, Suzanne, are you selling a lot of Christmas books right now?
Oh yeah, the whole children's section is Hanukkah and Christmas books. I just took boxes of our regular picture books, stuck them in the back, and just filled the shelves with all the holiday stuff. Yeah,
Tis
100%.
'tis the season to be
Yeah,
reading.
season.
Yeah,
And
Nancy, remember she went, sorry, Charlie, LOL. Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember that commercial. Like I said, you guys, I was a mere child, but I do remember that commercial. I think that was so fun as a kid to watch Charlie Tuna trying to get caught. Oh, so just call me Charlie. Anyway, so moving right along, I want to address one more thing. I know Suzanne was like, you're going to make me talk for a whole hour. No, I promised her we were not going to keep her on for that long. But so the girl has written books, every kind of book imaginable. And she has now owned a bookstore. And on top of that, she has launched a children's book festival. And you just had your second annual one, right? So
yeah,
tell me what on earth made you decide in your spare time to plan a children's book festival in beautiful Paulsbo, Washington?
I don't know. I just
I just like, what are you thinking?
I know it. I know it. Why? What am I doing? Um I kind of feel, and I don't know, I don't want this to come off arrogant or anything, but I kind of feel like I was my reason for being here is that I have a connection to kids and literacy, and that seems to me to be my purpose. And
That's
I
good.
really feel very strongly that if every single one of us just did one thing, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's so easy to get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Things are so bleak all the time. And
Yeah.
you're like, how can I help, the world? If we each just did, one thing, and it's that one thing that we do passionately, doesn't matter how small it is, it makes a difference. And so my one thing is kids and literacy. And so I've just wanted to do this for a long time. And so I just decided, well, nope, it's not going to happen if I don't do it. I just have to do it.
Mm.
So and I've never done a festival before, and I never have gone out and asked people to donate, for grants. I've never done any of that. But I learned how to do it. And
Wow.
and I just went to the city of Paulsbo and I said, here's what I want to do. And they were like, well, how can we help? And I was like,
Oh.
this is amazing. And then I went to Key Bank and I said, here's what I want to do. And they said, how can we help? I mean, there was so much positive reaction to what I was imagining. So, but it has been, it's a lot of work. And it's only been a couple weeks since we did it. So I'm still recovering. I still have boxes of books right over there. I can see them. Um, so if I were to decide right now if I want to do it again, my answer would basically be no, because I'm exhausted, but I know it
Sure.
will happen again. It's like childbirth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll forget the pain in about 2 months, but yeah, we're going to do it again, but I need to take it to the next level. So that means I have to become a nonprofit, and I'll need to get some serious people on the board.
Yeah.
And I need to find people who can help me help me with the fundraising, because that's my least favorite thing to do. But it's really crucial. It's super crucial. So
Yeah. And you have reached the point, I think, where you need a board. You need other than just you doing it by yourself. There does come a point, where you have to get help. But I just want to, the thing that you said about if everybody would just do one thing, pick the one thing in the world where you would love to see improvement or people happier or doing better, and just do it. I mean, standing all for that, because if everybody had that attitude, we would not have people starving. We would be all prospering. People would be getting help if they were depressed. If somebody was alone, somebody would be watching over them. And we can make such a difference in our own little corner of the world. And I think Suzanne is such a good example of that with launching this children's festival that she has done. It's been in November the last 2 years, so I'm assuming probably next year it will also be in November. Good guess, right?
yeah, I haven't. Yes.
Probably. We'll say probably. She's still
Yes.
recovering from birthing a children's festival. So, this is not the time to say, tell us exactly. But probably there will be another. And so that's something to keep in mind for those of you who are Sap County people and Seattle people who are local and can come to something like that and support it. And if you are touristing, Paulsboro is adorable at the holidays. It really is like Leavenworth, Washington. That's another huge tourist attraction we have in the state. But Paulsboro is right up there with that too. So if you're looking for a fun tourist day and you want to wander around and do all things Viking, you can join in and come on by Liberty Bay and support the store. A couple of you came in late. I'm sorry, guys. Kelly finally found the live. Sorry, Kelly, we're just about wrapping up, but of course you'll be able to watch it after the fact. And this has been so cool to talk with Suzanne a little bit about what it's like running a bookstore. So if somebody, maybe not even a bookstore, but if somebody is thinking of, okay, I'm going to buy a bookstore, I'm going to start a festival, I would like to start a book club, I would like to fill in the blank. What is your advice for them?
Well, oh my gosh. I think the most important thing I did when I was considering buying the bookstore was I went out and I asked other people who had owned bookstores or owned bookstores to sit down with me and to share their experiences with me. And that was the best thing I did, because they were just very candid and very honest. And we can have these fantasies in our head, right? We can watch a Meg Ryan movie and see her adorable little picturesque children's bookstore, and
it went out of business.
We can imagine, but there are realities, right? And there are economics, and there are bills to be paid, and there are employees, and that's probably one of the hardest things, is you have to deal with people and their needs, and you have to employ people and become a boss, which is my least favorite hat to wear, is being a boss. And there's just a lot, and customers. 99.99% of the people who walk through the door of a bookstore are happy to be there and wonderful. But sometimes you have to deal with very difficult personalities, and that's just customer service, right? So anyway, the best thing I did was I went and talked to other people who had the experience. And I think that's really important, to do research and to learn as much as you can. I say the same thing about publishing. People walk in the door all the time who have notions about self-publishing, and they've been told incorrectly, or they think that the minute they self-publish a book, it's going to be in bookstores on shelves. Yeah. And I'm like, you didn't know, you need to do research. You need to understand, how does the publishing industry work? And you have to take the time to do that. And so I always tell people to do research.
Yeah. So whatever your dream, don't give up on your dreams, but just make sure that you've done a little research before you jump in. Wade into the pool. Don't jump into the deep end, because we don't want you to drown. But I just think Suzanne's such an inspiration, and I really appreciate you. I know how busy you are, so I appreciate you taking the time to share with us a little bit about what it's like doing many different things, having many different adventures, and now, of course, with the bookstore. So, guys, again, before we say bye, I just want to encourage you to buy books for people for Christmas. Maybe that's not the main thing they want, but okay, buy them a book and then tuck some kind of a 10, 20, $50 bill in there as a bookmark. Say, if you read this book, you might find something special. So anyway, let's make sure that we keep our kids literate, that we help each other keep our imaginations fired, that we share that gift, give books for Christmas. And we'll be doing more of this year. We got another chat coming up next week. We'll be doing some little gifty giveaways here on the Facebook page, and checking in with all of you and sharing things on Instagram. So let's all keep in touch here as we head toward the holiday season. And meanwhile, happy kicking it off, and ho, ho, ho. And I'll hope to be seeing some of you next week. So we're going to say bye to our Instagram people. So much appreciate that. And then also, again, to our Facebook gang, thanks for being with us, you guys. I hope you have a great week. Stay in touch, okay?